I want to look at how to have a magnetic personality. That may seem like a strange idea to you to think about how I can be more magnetic, but I want to explain that and see how significant it is in the second part of our life that we think about our character and the way that we relate to people. We all know people who have been charming and magnetic and we wanted to be around. We've also all have known people that were draining and took a lot out of us. I think it is so key in our lives to have a better quality of life and a greater impact that we have a pleasant attitude, that we have an appealing character, and that is very important as we think about not only our life but our impact. Well, what do I mean by magnetic? Magnetic means something that attracts. That is that by your personality and the way that you treat people and the way that you relate people, that people want to be around you, they're drawn to you. There's a verse in Proverbs 27 verse 8 and it reads, "Oil and perfume make the heart glad, and the sweetness of a friend comes from his earnest counsel." What a great verse that is to think about how attractive we can be, how we can provide good counsel and encouragement to those around us. And as you think about being magnetic, that you make the heart of others glad, there are some qualities that we all need to have in order to be in that place. And I think there's a couple reasons why we need to think about that. The first reason that we should be magnetic and try to draw people to ourselves is that we would have a greater number of friends in our life. We live in a society and a time where people are so isolated. I don't think I've talked to anybody who wouldn't want another friend. And we need to be that friend that produces gladness and encouragement in other people's lives. And when we are that way, we will be drawing people to ourselves and we'll enter in a greater quality of life because we'll have more friends and have deeper friends. The second reason that we should have a magnetism about us and to bring gladness to the heart is that through the way that we interact with people, we can have an impact on their lives. That certainly is why I have this YouTube channel, because I want to be an influence and try to impact people to increase the quality of their life by sharing significant ideas and concepts that we can begin to play out in our lives. So let me suggest to you 7 areas of which if you work on these, that you will be magnetic. That is, that people will be drawn more to you. The first 4 of these character qualities are negative. The first 4 are those things that you need to move away from. How often we have negative character qualities, and that can push people away. We can be draining to people if we don't work on these 4 areas. The first area that we need to look at if we want to be magnetic and influence and have closer relationships is that we need to stop grumbling. I know we go through difficulties, we go through hardships, but the key in our life is that if we want to have those closer relationships, if we want to have an influence on those around us, we can't spend our time grumbling, complaining about the situations that we find ourselves in. We've all known that person who's gone through some difficulty in their life and they spend all their time complaining about, all their time grumbling about it. And we've also found those people who have faced great hardships and medical difficulties. And despite those difficulties, they can find joy. They can find areas that they're thankful for. And they actually lift you up because they aren't grumblers, even though reasonably they could be grumblers and complainers about their situation. How refreshing it is to be around somebody who's not dragged down by their circumstances, but has more of the ability to float above the waves and to be able to be an encouragement to others. So I would challenge you to look at your own life and ask yourself the question, am I a grumbler? Am I a complainer? Do I always focus on what is going wrong? And how does that affect the people that I'm around? The second character quality that we need to look at if we want to be somebody who's magnetic and drawing people to ourselves, to influence them and to have a greater wealth of friends, is that we need to guard against being cynical. There's so much going on in the world today that we could develop a very cynical attitude, from politics to relationships to the news of the day, and it can really put us in a discouraged and cynical view. And if that translates to the way that we relate to other people, we will not influence them in the positive way. We will not have a greater wealth of friends in our life. People will tend to avoid us. You've probably seen that too to somebody who's very cynical and pessimistic. Not just a grumbler, but somebody who is cynical about life and how it is so easy to not be around that person. Well, the third quality that you should think about if you want to have that kind of personality that will draw people to yourself is to put away resentment. You know, things happen in our life that are difficult and people will do wrong to us at times, but if we live in that resentment and that unforgiveness, it will embitter ourselves and will make us ineffective in other people's lives. We will not be a good friend. We will not be an encourager if we live in that state of resentment. It is so easy to not let go an offense and to allow it to sour your heart, but if you allow that to soak into your soul, then you will be ineffective as a friend. You will not be somebody that gives gladness. You will not be somebody who is an encouragement to others. And we need to put away that resentment by forgiving others. I just want to encourage you, maybe you have some other ideas about ways to attract people to yourself and to have deeper relationships and to impact others. If you do, I'd love to see your comments below, your ideas and your suggestions, and that we start a discussion about this. The fourth quality that somebody has that is not magnetic, that is not drawing friends to himself, that's not influencing others, is that they're self-focused. When we orient our life and our thoughts all around us and what's going on in our life, then we will begin to be a drain on other people. You've probably known that person too that's always talking about what's going on in their life, always talking about their struggles and what they're facing. And that's, again, the kind of person that is not magnetic, that you are not drawn to, that you are not encouraged by. We need to turn our eyes away from ourselves and just what we're going on and begin to focus on the other person. And this is number 5 in my suggestions of how to be more magnetic and draw people to yourself for deeper relationships and for impact. To be other focused. You know, despite the things that we are going on, we could turn our attention away from ourselves, what's going on in our life, and begin to ask questions. Begin to care about somebody else. Begin to think about, how can I help the other person? Maybe you've been around somebody who you've known and they're always caring about you. They want to know what's going on in your life. They want to know how they can help you. And you can find yourself naturally encouraged and drawn to that person. I tell you, that's also the best way to live in our lives, to be oriented away from self and oriented towards other people. This has been the greatest joy in my life, to begin to think less of myself and begin to serve and to help and to encourage and to try to influence other people. And if you want to have a great second half of your life, then you need to be a person as you enter into the second part of your life where you're focused on serving other people, encouraging other people, and impacting other people. And that's number 6 in my list of how to be magnetic and how to draw people to yourself. To be encouraging. To always be thinking when you're meeting with somebody, how can I build them up? How can I encourage them? What can I say to recognize their qualities? What can I say to help them to strive toward being a better person and be encouraged in their life? Well, I'll tell you, that's another aspect of being magnetic and drawing people to yourself. We always want to be around people that are not discouraging us and cynical, but people that are encouraging and building up. You know, it says in Ephesians chapter 4 that we should have no unwholesome talk, but that we should have talk that builds the other person up. And that's powerful. When I think about any relationship I have, whether it's my wife, my friend, somebody that I just meet, and when I begin to think, how can I encourage them? How can I build them up? It's something that naturally builds and strengthens a relationship and puts them in a place where they are wanting to be around me. Well, the 7th and the last character quality that will make you magnetic is to be optimistic. That is, as I said, not to be cynical about life, even when the difficult times come, that we can be optimistic. To not think about just the challenges and to assume that everything's going to go wrong, but to think about what could happen and what could be accomplished. I tell you, if you're optimistic, if you are looking forward to the future and anticipating good things in your life, then you're going to be somebody who draws friends to yourself. Then you're going to be somebody who is an encouragement to others and others want to be around you. Well, I hope that you've just been encouraged to think about your character, think about the way that you present yourself to people, and think about the opportunity that you have to build a great greater number of friends, how to encourage them, and also how to have an impact on other people's lives. As I said before, this is a great way as we think about the second part of life to make it a meaningful part of life. When we have a wealth of friends and when we look at our life and we realize that we're impacting, encouraging others, there's great joy in our heart and great satisfaction that we will have because of that. Hey, I'd encourage you, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, to also do that so that you can be aware when new videos come out. And again, share in the comments section about your thoughts about how you are an encourager, how you draw people to yourself so that you can influence them and have an impact on their lives. This is so key in our lives, is to think about the quality of our life and the impact that we can have in our lives so that we can say the best is yet to be.